Happy Halloween Eve, I guess it is, for everyone joining us on the interwebs live. It is October 30th, 2025. We are a handful of days away from Election Day in 2025, and this week we are putting a spotlight on some of our local talent running for office for the first time, running for office to continue to serve our communities. And I continue to believe that there are a few positions more important in our daily lives than the ones we're going to be talking about today and that we have been talking about this week. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I didn't expect like we'd be getting the viewership that we have for our congressional candidates, for our local candidates, but people are really tuning in, and more than ever, not only as we've seen from some of our interviewees willing to step up and run for office, not thinking that they would do so before, but really interested in who is representing them in the decisions that are being made locally and wanting a say in that. And while I think that there, again, are no more important positions in our daily, day-to-day lives than some of our local leaders, it's also like it's part of our American fabric to empower those among us, our friends and neighbors, to serve and represent us in these conversations. But as many of us know and are aware, the road to 2026 and winning back the House across the country will come down to a few seats. New York 17 and Mr. Lawler seat among them. Establishing a foundation, an active, engaged citizenry in 2025, establishing a foundation of good governance is going to be essential for ensuring that we take back New York 17 seat next year. But that's a whole year away. And so today I'd actually love to get started by talking to two of our local talents who are running for Lewisboro Town Board, Mary Shah and Julia Hadlock. Mary is a health services librarian and archivist at Norwalk Hospital. She has served the network for almost 20 years, earning a bachelor's degree from New School for Social Research and a master's in library science from Southern Connecticut State University. She's been active in teaching global health, health literacy, quality improvement, artificial intelligence, and library instruction. She's a senior member of the Academy of Health Information Professionals, a member of the mental health care team, and works with colleagues on the ethical use of AI. She served 2 terms so far on the Lewisboro Library Board of Trustees, 7 years as vice president, 2 decades as a library fair volunteer, a few years as coordinator, and 1 term on the Conservation Advisory Council. She was elected council member in 2021. She serves on a host of other committees, just exemplifies her dedication to the community and serving. Including the Advisory Council for People with Disabilities, Conservation Advisory Council, Emergency Management Committee. There's not enough time in the podcast to list all of the ways that Mary has dedicated herself to us and our communities. She has served as deputy supervisor since 2024, and she's finishing up her 4th year on the Lewisboro Town Board. And we'll also be talking with Julia Hadlock. Julia and her husband Peter have lived in South Salem with their 3 sons. I have to get tips on 3 kids and how you come out as sane as she seems to be since 2011. They're proud to call this community their home. She's volunteered extensively for the past 14 years throughout Lewisboro in the school scouting programs and local sports. And really under this belief that strong community involvement helps that town thrive. For the past 25 years, she's worked as a nonprofit executive in healthcare and community development, holding leadership roles with United Way, the Boys and Girls Club, and Bridges to Community. She's passionate about helping these organizations grow through strategic planning, staff development, and operational improvement. She's currently serving as Senior Director of Medical Operations at Blithedale Children's Hospital. She's also served on the Katona Lewisboro School District Board of Education for 9 years, including 2 as board president. In that role, she worked to ensure meetings were focused, productive, and respectful. She's also a graduate of Cornell University. Go Big Red, that's where I met my wife, and where she earned a degree in educational psychology in Dartmouth College of School of Medicine, where she received a master's in evaluative clinical science. So without further ado, I'm so happy to invite Mary and Julia to the podcast. It's nice to see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
That's the first time
Kevin,
I
thank
called
you for
this.
having us.
Of course. It's actually the first time I called this a podcast. Like, this is a list. I don't know what this is, but but it certainly is a forum to really put a spotlight on our political talent across the district. And I'm so happy to have you here. And I want to start off, as I have these conversations, first by saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time to run. It's 6 p.m. on a Thursday, and in a different world, I assume you would not be joining a live stream or whatever this is to talk about a campaign. It's a time commitment. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
So
it's an honor.
Yeah. So maybe Mary, starting with you. You're finishing up a 4-year term on the Lewisboro Town Board. Why going for another term?
First of all, we've spent 4 years working really hard, keeping the budget, the town taxes under the cap. So none of us have too much to pay as far as our town taxes go. Making sure that the budget is responsible and that we meet the needs, providing the services from the town. And we've been so successful at that. We've got a AA+ credit rating, and so we can keep our bond rates low when we need to do capital projects. We've done a lot of repairs and improvements to the infrastructure, which had been neglected or underfunded in the past. More roads are getting paved, culverts repaired, a lot of stuff that I could talk about for a long time, but I don't want to bore people with it. But the exciting thing is we've got a new town offices that are getting ready for our employees, and we hope to create a community center as well as new police department, and that would also include emergency services space as well. And most importantly of all, we've been helping our people feel like they belong to the community by creating events that and sponsoring events where everyone is included and that they belong. It's the fourth part of our comprehensive plan that we just recently adopted for the first time since 1989. And everybody in the community feels that is of the utmost importance. So I try to meet their needs.
Well, I really love to see Democrats demonstrating how we advance good governance in our local communities. I was just speaking yesterday, the day before, with Jan Merchandani down in Yorktown, and they're facing the opposite situation. It is hard to kind of keep taxes below the cap, especially when you see kind of rising health insurance costs for town employees going up every year. That eats a lot of that allowance. But good governance, thoughtful governments, long-term planning. You mentioned a comprehensive plan, which I'd love to come back to. While listening to the needs of constituents, it can be done when you have really capable folks in office. And so, like, Julia, did you kind of see what was going on and want to be part and contribute? Oh, you're on mute, but I'm gonna unmute you now. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I didn't want any noise to come in from my side when Mary was talking. So sure, I recently just rolled off the school board after serving 3 terms on the school board. And I think I see an opportunity to support the effective administration that the current board is working towards. And Tony Gonsalves, who is our town supervisor, along with Mary and the other town board members, are really endeavoring to do good work in the town of Lewisboro, to make thoughtful decisions about our future We received awards for the process which we undertook to create the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
And so that plan really reflects where our community would like to see us go. And I think setting clear goals and staying focused on those goals is a really important part of good governance. And we have a lot of decisions to make over the next few years around our infrastructure and our work around, cleaning up some of our water systems and continuing to work on our roads. My background in operations and nonprofit management really helps me to understand how to create effective budgets. I've always budgeted within the constraints of using the public's money, whether it was through a nonprofit entity, and on the school board, we maintained a budget under the tax cap, and we're able to maintain, very low increases as much as possible on the school board. And so this is an area that I have experience in, and I'm comfortable working in that environment. And I would like to bring a supportive, thoughtful voice to the board. We, have opportunities to think about how we work together and to make sure that people do feel that their voices are reflected. I believe Mary feels very strongly that we represent all community members, as do I. And I think that if we can really extend that voice, we will start to sort of eliminate the distractions of people who are trying to make the decisions we're making appear political when they are, in fact, thoughtful, careful decisions made based on the wishes of our community through that long-term planning tool. And they're not political. And so there is an effort sometimes to create a political narrative that doesn't exist in order to distract and delay progress. And my goal is to help us to move things forward. I have been really active in the community, again, on the school board for 9 years. I've met a lot of people. It's 9 years of watching children go through the school and attending events across the district at the elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. My husband and my son are both volunteer firefighters. My husband was president of the fire department for several years. So, we are involved in scouting, and in those activities, we have participated in lots of volunteerism with lots of different groups and organizations that span the political spectrum. And I think, I hope that people who have met me, I have conversations with lots of people, irregardless of where they land politically, to say, what do we want and what is best for our town?
Yes.
And they trust me to know that I care about what's best for our town. I don't have an agenda. There isn't an issue that I'm running on. I'm running on the fact that I love this town. We have a wonderful community, and I just want to be a part of making sure that we are creating the best possible community that we can.
And that is something that's so wonderful to hear through all of these interviews over the past 5 days. Joe Bonanno, Marjorie Shue, Brian Pugh, Jan yesterday. I mean, everyone has said, I am coming to this and I want to be evidence-driven, plan-driven. I want to be, my door is open to any community member who has a concern, because I think we need to bring more of that back into local government. And it's just so refreshing to hear. And I'll give a shout out to the recorder here. You guys had a great kind of Q&A with them. And Julia, you mentioned you believe that the supervisor needs board members who are quote unquote prepared to work collaboratively and make sound, timely decisions. I believe I can be that partner. And Mary, from your perspective on the board, is that what's needed?
Well, we do need that, and I talk about this on a regular basis. That as far as at work, at the hospital, during my day job, we talk about evidence-based practice and evidence-based medicine all the time.
Yeah.
But you can do evidence-based practice in government as well. You need the evidence in the literature, what works. It doesn't make sense to try something that doesn't. You need the expert opinion. I'm not an engineer and I don't play one on TV. And so I need to be able to trust the expert opinion of people who can give me that information, but I also need to listen to the people I serve.
Yeah.
Because that's the input from the people I serve is just as important as the other two. And it's teamwork that is the most successful thing of all. So I 100% agree with Julia.
So she has your endorsement.
Yes.
So, and through both of your answers, I mean, I've already started to hear some of the issues that have been stemming up from the community around the need for new community infrastructure and capacity, the new police department, which is a huge undertaking, a new community center. I think, Mary, you've mentioned previously, not having a place for the community to come together and gather, particularly our older adults in the community, while maintaining fiscal discipline, protecting the environment. I want to talk about PFAS, and then lifting up the diverse perspectives of neighbors. I'd love to hear your thoughts on like issues of particular importance to you as you're heading into this new term. And maybe Mary, we could start with you, and then Julia.
Well, serving the people is the most, it's like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Serving the people is the most important thing for me. Making sure that we pay respect to the diversity of the community, but also continuing with my fiduciary responsibility as far as good fiscal management of the town. And finding ways to get things accomplished. It's an honor to serve with Tony Gonzalez, who's also running for re-election. We've, as a team, have gotten almost $9 million in grants, and those grants lower the tax obligations of the community. So we're able to get the police, and also Chief Alfano has gotten grants to pay for a new vehicle for them and to get new radios. And so you have to follow the law and fill out all the paperwork. And sometimes people outside of government don't realize how long that all takes, the process. But at the same time, you have to be creative and find grants whenever they
rarely find you. You have to you have to go out, and
it's not going to fall in my lap.
Yeah.
But the beauty of, being creative is we've just recently hired 2 new police officers, and I can't tell you how
terrific news.
It's exciting. And so we've also gotten traffic cameras because we've had some issues with people going a little over the speed limit, which we strongly discourage, and some other safety challenges, and we're working to address those in a thoughtful way. That's why it's so great to work with Chief Alfano, because he's such a strong proponent of community policing. And he's committed to Lewisboro.
That's wonderful, and he's a terrific chief. And Julia, like, was there any issue that woke you up in the middle of the night and you're like, I need to get this done and I'm going to run to do it?
Well, I think one of the things is we have a lot of work to do. And I think one of the areas that I have concerns about, because we're about to embark on several long-term projects. And with long-term projects, there's so much work that's happening inside of the government and inside of the town. And sometimes that becomes invisible to people, and
black box.
They feel that there's no progress. So I really think as we approach some of these projects that Mary's talking about, we really need to think carefully and create a real strong communication plan for the next several years, because we have to create clear channels for both us to share information, but also for two-way communication so that we can get feedback. And importantly, because access to information, accurate information, will help ensure limited disinformation. We want to make disinformation non-viable in our town. And so as we work on these projects that are really important, the creation of our sort of town campus, what does that look like? Where will things go? How will people know? That's a really important thing. We're endeavoring to work on some sewage systems, and that's going to be disruptive to people. So where do people go to get that information? So I think I am concerned about making sure that we are clearly communicating with community and keeping them informed across the process, so that we can focus on the work and not be distracted by people saying nothing's happening, or it's not happening fast enough. And I think, Mary made a great point in terms of people sometimes don't understand how long things take. We had a really important water infrastructure project because of PFAS in part of our community. And that project, from the time that we received grant funding, working with Sean Patrick Maloney when he was the congressman for 17, and the town has worked diligently throughout that process. Like, there have been no delays on our work. But that process takes years. You're working with environmental agencies, federal agencies, local agencies, county agencies. And so I think there is a place, a landing page where people can see that progress. And the town has hosted lots of meetings about it and posted lots of information, but it's almost like too much in one place. And so when people go there and it's like there's 20 different PDFs posted, they're like, what's happening? And so I want to make sure that those things don't happen.
It seems like a lot of churn.
Yeah, and there's so much good work happening, and I don't want it to be distracted by, again, disinformation. So that's something that kind of keeps me up at night, and I don't know what the solution is, whether it's bringing in like a marketing partner or a communication partner, but I think it's really going to be important.
I think it's fostering that open communication, like you said, in an accessible way. I mean, because the way that I've always seen it is like you have a foundation of transparency, which builds accountability, which builds trust, and like making sure that you're communicating on a semi-regular basis, like where we are, like honestly about any like miscues or mishaps that happened and how they were addressed. I think that's the role of a responsible government.
Right. And I think
at the same time, you have to realize, though, I receive input on a regular basis in a variety of ways.
As a representative.
It's my job and to bear witness. But there are people in our community who do not have internet. There are senior citizens who do not have cell phones. And it's really important to go and have lunch with them on Wednesday afternoon when they get together, or to go to the Goldens Bridge Fire Department Community Day, where you can sit down and have a cup of coffee with them and listen to what their situation is. So it's you have to be creative in connecting as well. So you can build a beautiful website, but if someone doesn't have a computer, then it's not going to be useful unless we drive them to the library so they can access it. So
meeting people where they are.
Exactly. Exactly.
And before I turn to talk about like your qualifications, what makes each of you uniquely qualified to take on this next generation of challenges in the town, like I do want to kind of pause for a moment on PFAS, because this is like a big issue. I'm hearing it across towns. Would you mind like briefly just describing what the concern is and what needs to be done to address it?
You want to start, Julia, or do you want me to?
I mean, go ahead. I mean, I think we are.
Okay. So forever chemicals were created by fire retardants in that firefighters use in fabrics and sofa, in cushions, in a wide variety, even cooking pans. So it's gotten into everybody's water, and it's a bad thing. And it can make people sick. And we have several parts of our community, like Oak Ridge Commons, that has a water district. Well, there are only 2 water districts in town, but the Oak Ridge Commons is the only one the town is legally obliged to administer. And so we've been working for the last 20 years to make sure their water's provided and taken care of. And through testing and the changing in the numbers, levels by the state of New York, they've dropped down a bit more. So we've had to do more. And there's carbon filtration that takes care of it. We've also been involved in a class action suit by people who've made these forever chemicals. So we're getting money to help pay for the resolution and filtering of the water system at Oak Ridge. doesn't solve the problems for those of us who have well water, but we are being proactive in a variety of ways. Julia mentioned Sean Patrick Maloney's grant for over $1 million with the water processing system, which, by the way, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not
That's
a train
terrific.
coming at us. It's the new system coming up. And so, if you talk to engineers, they could go on for hours and hours, but I think that's the briefest summation in a clearly explained way, that we're addressing it in a way that people can now feel safe.
And Julia, for problems like this, the forever chemicals and resolving them, which does take a long-term outlook, to the other the issues that you mentioned and we've discussed, if you were going to boil it down, why someone should consider you as like the most highly qualified candidate, you and Mary, for resolving those issues? How would you do that?
Sure. I think I'm a problem solver both in the community and professionally. So professionally, I work in operations. So operations is all about understanding best practice, figuring out how you're varying from best practice, and then finding solutions to adjust that. And so I do this every day at work. And in the community, I have tried to create a stronger community and solve problems when I could. And I think people have seen me active. I roll up my sleeves, I do what needs to be done, and I volunteer. And I was on the school board for 9 years and worked diligently and came prepared to all my meetings so that I could help administer a highly functioning school district for our families in the community. So I think I bring 3 things that will make me an effective administrator, and hopefully I'm able to, keep people informed and help them to feel confident that we're working on their behalf.
Mary, going for it again. What perspective are you going to bring?
I am going to bring the perspective of the resident of Lewisboro, a mom, an information professional, a researcher. I care about the people I serve, and I don't need to be an attorney to do the job well. I have information, I have great active listening skills, and I think I have creativity. I don't take myself seriously, as anyone who's been to the library fair in the last 5 years knows by seeing me fall into the dunk tank more than a couple of times. I don't take myself seriously, but I take what I do seriously. And I'm a bit tenacious, and I keep going until we find a way of making things happen.
So I have, before I go to the call to action that you have for voters out there or prospective voters out there, a question from the campaign trail. I know that you guys have been knocking doors and getting out there a lot together. What's one thing you learned about the other person that you didn't know prior to the campaign? And I surprised Mary on the last one. So Julia, I'm going to ask you first about Mary.
I think I've learned how much she cares about people and also about animals. She's a huge dog lover, and that was not something I knew. And so I think I've seen her compassion and her caring throughout our time together.
Yeah, love it. Mary?
I love cats too, full disclosure. I do care about the environment. And what I've learned about Julia is I see her professionalism in what she does. We had a meet and greet, and she connected with everybody very thoughtfully. And we had a game night, which we've never done before. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't get a chance to play Scrabble like I wanted to, but that's probably a good thing too, because I need to listen to what everybody's doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for all that you're doing and for running. I don't get to say this very often with the congressional candidates. I so appreciate your evidence-based approach, your planful approach to governance, your openness to hear from anyone and represent their views as an elected member of the community in the decisions that you have to make on a day-to-day basis, and your willingness to take on these big picture, long-term decisions. I hope you win. So you have, yeah, if I was in Lewisboro, you'd have my vote. But those who are watching, I would encourage them to give you their full consideration. Is there anything else that you would want to share with these prospective voters as we're heading in the final stretch of early voting and with Election Day on Tuesday?
Just that, things may seem unsettled at a national level, but you can take control of at least this corner of the world and get out and vote. Ask your friends to vote, your neighbors to vote, and get out and make sure you close the deal for us. And we're asking for your vote humbly and with great respect. And it's good practice for next year when we vote Lawler out of office and moving forward. So voting is the great first step to get involved.
I think I have a friend who says triple your vote, right? So make sure you vote, and then make sure you, at a minimum, triple your vote. Find 2 other people, make sure they have a plan to vote. If you can help people go to early voting over the weekend, on Westchester County's website, I have an Instagram, Hadlock for Lewisboro FOR. I have a link in my bio to the early voting locations and times. So, that's a great way to find out where you can go. If you're going to be shopping down county or shopping, in Yorktown, there's places you can go throughout the county to vote. So make a plan, make sure you get it done, and try to make sure that, especially older people who may need a ride, help people to be able to share their vote as well.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Mary, for both running, and good luck next week. Hopefully we'll talk more soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Kevin, so much.
Thanks for having us.
We appreciate it.
Of course. Okay, take care. So, everyone, Julia Hadlock, Mary Shah, it was wonderful to have them on, and it is our great American privilege to get to vote for our friends and neighbors, to represent us in decisions that affect us locally on a daily level, and then, as we'll talk about more in the coming weeks, nationally and at the state level. There's so much to do. If you haven't voted, please go vote. It's always wonderful to see you, and thank you for the privilege of allowing me to get out and actually interview some of our local leaders and congressional leaders. And I look forward to talking to you soon.